You with federal funding will understand our dilemma. We received notice that we'd be funded in late May. School ended in early June, and we kicked off our program July 1 with a summer residential program on campus at the University of California, Irvine. We did no screening of records. We took any warm body who agreed to spend a week with us on campus. Joe was one of those warm bodies. Joe with his great big brown eyes and the smile that could melt your heart. When the school year started, I trained SCORE tutors to go out to the high schools and work with the students. My tutors very quickly came back after meeting with Joe. They said to me, "We need to drop Joe from the program. Joe is not college material." Now I said, "Tell me why, what's going on?" And they very quickly gave me ammunition. Joe failed 4 of his 5 classes his freshman year in high school. Now, even to Pollyanna, I had to agree that was not college material. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw the sparkle in Joe's eyes and his smile. I just didn't feel good about it. So I said to my tutors, "I hear everything you're saying. I agree with everything you're saying, but I don't feel good about it. Give me a few minutes to check our records." When I checked records, I found out that this same Joe, 4 F's and 1 D Joe, in 1 week with us, had been the star of our program. He made a 336% pre-post gain on our self-made tests. That is college material. I want to urge you to look for a reason to believe in students. I want to urge you to look for a reason to take a chance. I want to urge you to look for a reason to say, this one can make it. This one is college prep. Well, I inherited Joe because my tutors didn't know what to do with him. So I sat down with Joe and said, "Joe, tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you want to do?" Think for a minute about what Joe might have wanted to do. Joe looked at me with those big, beautiful brown eyes and said to me, "I want to be a teacher." Basically, Joe was saying, "I want to be just like you." Now, before I understood the SCORE concept of petting the dream, I would have said to the Joes of the world, "What do you mean you want to be a teacher? Don't you know teachers have to get through high school? What's wrong with you?" I have learned now a process that in SCORE we call pet the dream. So I said to Joe instead, "Joe, I think it's wonderful that you want to be a teacher. Tell me about it. Are there any teachers in your family? What grade do you want to teach? Who are your favorite teachers? Would you like to teach college? Maybe little kids? Tell me about it, Joe." In SCORE, we call that process petting the dream. Well, there does come a time when we need to get real. There is a time when we need to ask the tough questions. So the time came and I said to Joe, "Joe, let's talk now about this year, your sophomore year in high school. What do you want to do this year?" And Joe looked at me again with those big, beautiful brown eyes and said to me, "I think I'm going to drop out of high school. It just isn't working for me." Now again, before I had learned the SCORE technique, I would have said, "Joe, you can't do that." But Joe was this big and more streetwise than I'll ever be. Joe could do anything he wanted to, and I couldn't stop him. So instead I said to him, "Joe, you could do that, but you just told me you want to be a teacher, do you?" And he said, yeah. And I said, "Well, Joe, teachers have to finish high school. Do you really want to be a teacher?" And he said, yeah. And I said, "Well, Joe, teachers have to go to college. Do you really want to be a teacher?" And he said, yeah. And I said, "Joe, I wish I didn't have to tell you all this at once, but I've got to tell you the truth. Teachers have to go to college after they get out of college. Joe, do you really want to be a teacher?" And he said, yeah. You see, when you hold a child's dream in your hand, you have the power to destroy them, or you have the power to give them wings. Pet the dream and give your students wings. Well, I became the keeper of Joe's dream. I said, okay, Joe, let's take a look at what's going on. You failed 4 of your 5 classes last year. We've got to get you some tutoring to make sure you pass your classes. We tutored Joe, we counseled Joe, we sent Joe through another summer residential program. We worked with Joe's parents. We used our motivational curriculum on Joe. And I'm very happy to tell you that Joe graduated with his class and that Joe enrolled in community college en route to becoming the teacher of his dreams.